Hello, everyone. Welcome to the NFL Week 10 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. If you want to just get to my NFL picks for Week 10, go ahead and skip through probably 7-8 minutes here because I got to recap the World Series. We got to start talking about some baseball here. Now, you probably saw the video that I recorded and sent out on social media immediately after the Blue Jays lost Game 7. I've now kind of had 2 days to kind of sit on it, and it's tough, man. Sucks that I've been waiting my entire life. I've been fantasizing since I was a kid, wanting to see one of the teams I cheer for win a championship, and I've been, for the three teams I cheer for, the Jays, the Leafs, and the Falcons, I've seen two championships, and the two championships have resulted in a 28-3 game, and then the Blue Jays, who you all know how many close opportunities they had to winning the World Series. I was pretty devastated afterwards, to be completely honest. And then over the past couple of days, like, I've been kind of battling with, I don't really know. I feel really bad about it. Like, it's almost like as if I'm grieving that this Blue Jays team lost the World Series, especially in that fashion. But at the same time, like, I recognize it's kind of sports, and sports are kind of stupid. But Rob Pizzola, who you might know, professional bettor, great follow on Twitter. You probably know who he is and follow him as well. Tweeted something today. He's also a Jays fan. He was actually at Game 7 that I thought was pretty fitting. And I think it kind of answered my question of me going back and forth about, wow, I feel legitimately terrible about this, but at the same time, it's a sport and nobody cares. He said, quote, "Some of the best moments of my life have been shared through sports with friends and fans. Caring enough to feel something, even if it is just a game, is what makes life fun. Thinking nothing matters unless it's tragic. It is not perspective, it is apathy." So yeah, I think it's okay that I care this much. It sucks, man. I also asked this question to people that I tweeted it out. I was like, what's worse, to be a fan of to be a fan of teams who never have any hope, or to be a fan of a team who's in the mix but lose in heartbreaking fashion 100% of the time? Everyone said it's always good to kind of be in the mix. Generally, I think that's right. I mean, because especially with this playoff run, there's a lot of highs. There's the ALCS Game 7 George Springer home run. There's a couple wins in the World Series. There's, the wins against the Yankees. So, like, those highs aren't going to go away, but I have the same feeling that I felt when the Falcons lost a 28-3 game. Is I'm now, like, for now, it's going to be every 5 minutes I'm going to think about it, but even 10 years down the road, once every 1 or 2 days, I'm going to think about how the Jays almost won the World Series and lost by inches multiple times, and it's going to put me in a bad mood. And I know that's true because that's the feeling I had when the Falcons lost 28-3 was I'm going to have to hear about 28-3 for the rest of my life. And you guys know, you guys follow me. It's become a joke about how often I get reminded of 28-3 on a daily and weekly basis. Now I'm going to get reminded by both 28-3 and the Blue Jays World Series, because it's going to go down as one of the best World Series of all time. It's going to go down as the Blue Jays choking it. It's going to go down as, the biggest heartbreak that Toronto sports fans have ever witnessed. So I'm going to have to live with this for the rest of my life, and just think about it. And a lot of people said, well, Iain, don't worry, like, the Jays will win eventually, and it's going to make, this loss that much more sweeter. Generally, I think that's true when you cheer for a team and they come close and don't get it, that it does kind of make the eventual win more sweeter. This case, I don't know if it's going to be that way for me. This was the only summer that I'm going to be living in Toronto. I was obviously in New York before that and then out east before that. This was the summer that I'm living in Toronto. I was a 20-minute walk from the stadium. I went to probably 20 different games. I was more emotionally attached to this team than I've ever been to any team that I cheer for. No way I won't be living in Toronto, this time next summer, maybe in the very early parts of the baseball season, but certainly not for the whole summer. I'll be moved somewhere outside Toronto by then. And I certainly won't be going to 20 plus games like I went to this season. So, this was my chance. 20-minute walk to the stadium. If they would have won, I would have, sprinted over the stadium. I would have celebrated in the streets. Maybe if they win in the future, I'll be able to get to Toronto and be there for the clinching game, but maybe not. I'm not going to experience an MLB season as a Jays fan like I experienced this year, so I lost that. Multiple chances to win in Game 6. All we had to do was win one of two at home. Multiple chances to win in Game 6. Multiple chances to win in Game 7. 2 outs away. That's what I'm always going to think of. And then when I think of 2 outs away, I'm also going to think of bottom of the 9th. After it was tied, bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, 1 out. IKF couldn't bring it home. And then bottom of the 10th, Vlad leads off with a double. Guy in scoring position. Someone just got to get a hit. Couldn't get it done. And then eventually the Alejandro Kirk broken bat led into a double play, and that was it. I stood there in disbelief. I couldn't believe after this season, that's it? It's over? Like, I kept watching for like 2 minutes, like thinking like there's got to be a review or something, or, there's got to be like a call that gets changed, or like they've been counting the score wrong. Like, there's no way the whole season that I've been living and dying with every pitch just came down to that, and it's over. And it was like 15 minutes before that, they were 2 outs away from the World Series. Unbelievable, man. Truly, truly just unbelievable stuff. I know this sounds like a pity party, but I'm hurting, man. I'm hurting. It literally feels like I'm grieving. It's tough. Also, I want to say, I tweeted out that video that I recorded right after the game started. Clearly, like, I'm not doing well. I wouldn't say I'm crying, but I'm upset in the video. I'm shocked by how many just mean replies and responses I got to that video. Just downright mean and vile stuff being sent to me in messages and in the replies. It's like, what did I do wrong? I'm upset that my team lost the World Series. Like, you see a guy who's upset his favorite sports team lost in the biggest game in the most heartbreaking fashion, and you just want to, like, kick him while he's down? Like, come on. Now, thankfully, I've been in the social media game long enough that I have thick enough skin that I kind of look past it. Because, I mean, if anyone who's replying to those tweets saying the kind of things they're saying, like, that person is not a well-adjusted, normal human being. They're either a kid or, like, just an all-time loser adult with no life. They're all people with, like, crypto things as their profile pictures. But, man, just mean things. I don't think I said anything in that video to deserve that. There's some Dodgers fans got mad at me because I said the Dodgers bought their team. Yeah, they bought their team. It was within the rules, but you can't say the Dodgers didn't buy their team, guys. And they come back with, yeah, but the Blue Jays had the 4th highest payroll. Yeah, 4th highest payroll and still $50 million less than what the Dodgers paid their players. And how about you add in the deferred money for Ohtani? That's not even included. So most of the money they're paying Ohtani is who's their MVP is not even included in that metric, and they still have $50 million more payroll than the Blue Jays. Now, it's fine. It's within the rules, It's not the Dodgers' fault. They're well within the rules to be doing all this. Either MLB needs to incorporate a hard cap, or they're just going to keep doing it. So I'm jealous of Dodgers fans that can do that, but you can't deny the fact that Dodgers bought their team. And I still think I this is all-time loser talk. There was a guy on Sportsnet who said it, who, like, it's now gone viral and people are making fun of him and Dodgers players are quoting him. But, like, the Blue Jays in that series itself, the Blue Jays were the better team. I'm not saying the Blue Jays were the better team overall, but in that series, it is loser talk. But the Jays, they just played better. I mean, look at the games they lost. 2 extra inning games, one that went 18 innings. Really, the only game that I felt the Blue Jays got outplayed in was Game 2, the Yamamoto game. I felt was the only game that they truly got outplayed in. And then the Jays, like, kind of, all 3 of their wins, they kind of cruised past the Dodgers. So it is what it is. That's sports. I just can't believe that the 3 teams I cheer for are the biggest choking, that have the most heartbreaking losses in sports history. Like, how is it possible I'm a Falcons and Blue Jays and Maple Leafs fan? I'll say the silver lining, if there is a silver lining, is it actually kind of makes all the Leafs playoff choke jobs seem not as bad, because at least they were in the Stanley Cup. Now I say that they're going to get to the Cup final this year and, like, blow it in heartbreaking fashion. But it kind of makes those Leafs heartbreak losses being like, okay, like, yeah, they were heartbreaking, but they were in, like, the first or second round. So, like, who knows? They probably would have lost at some point anyways. To get as close to a championship as you possibly can get between 28-3. And, I mean, the Jays, that's got to be I know there was the Rangers team was a 2011. A lot of people are messing me there. One strike away multiple times. But still, I mean, they were 2 outs away, and then in the ninth inning, IKF, they were literally an inch away. All you had to do was touch home plate, get a little bit more of a leadoff, dive forward, not dive feet first, and maybe that's the win there. It's tough. It's tough for, like, you go from 10 minutes, 1 minute, you're ready to run out in the streets of Toronto to finally celebrate the championship you've been waiting for 30 years, to 10 minutes later sitting there in disbelief and watching the Dodgers celebrate a back-to-back World Series championship. And then today sucks because all of sports media is just talking about, like, it's all these talking heads, like, how do you bounce, how do you even live as a Jays fan after that blown lead? And then the Dodgers parade, the Dodgers celebrations just suck. Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow laughing as I say, if you can't beat him, you may as well join him. Everything that's going on with the parade today, it just all fucking sucks, dude. It's fucking just pull my heart out of my chest and step on it. Like, I honestly don't know how I can get excited about any of my teams again. I mean, I'm sure I will eventually, but man, I've watched so many Jays games this year, and from the end of August until this weekend, I watched almost every single game, lived and died with every single pitch. I'm exhausted, emotionally exhausted, and it resulted in nothing. And then people are like, don't worry, they'll be back next year. It's like, maybe, but like the next season, there's so many things you have to get past. You have to make the playoffs. You have to battle with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Orioles and the Rays, one of the most competitive divisions in baseball. If you can get past all that and make the playoffs, you got to win 3 rounds just to even get back to the World Series. And then even if you get back to the World Series, you're probably going to face a team like the Dodgers or as good as the Dodgers again, and then you got to beat them 4 games out of 7. It's just, it seems impossible to get back to that spot again. So that's where I'm at. I'm not well. I started tweeting today. Yeah, there's more to life than sports. I tweeted out my favorite painting. I tweeted out a book I'm reading. I need to take a break from sports. But I have this podcast I got to record. So I have my bets locked in for week 10. Oh, and on top of all this, I had a terrible weekend betting on the NFL. So that was my weekend. It was Friday, the Jays lost. Saturday, the Jays lost. Sunday, the Falcons lost to the same team who had the 28-3 comeback against. What are the odds you watch your team lose a World Series the next day? It's a rematch of the other team you cheer for, their championship opponent, and they lose again. This time they lost to the Patriots because they missed an extra point at the end of the game. So Jays lose game 6, Jays lose game 7, Falcons lose on a missed extra point to the Patriots, and I went 3 and 11 with my picks so far. No, 3 and 10 so far with my picks. So, and I've also had the worst betting week of my NFL season. Hopefully I can get a 4th win with the Cowboys here, but they're down 10-0 to the Cardinals as I'm recording this. So I'll probably be 3 and 11 on the week. So how fun is that? The show goes on. I got my picks locked in for NFL Week 10. Let's get into them, I guess. The road to 272 bets marches on. All right, let's get into my picks for Week 10 of the NFL season. I'm down a million units. As always, I'll have my actual official record in the written version of this, but I'm down a lot. So it's going to be a losing season. I got to fight back and try to have maybe not as bad of a losing season. So let's go. Thursday Night Football, the Broncos. I'll take the -9 against the Las Vegas Raiders. It's time for me to be out on the Raiders. I didn't mention this. Bad week. Both underdogs that I bet to win outright both lost by 1 point, so would have covered the spread. It would have turned a bad week into like a not so bad week. One of them was the Raiders. I'm off the Raiders now. Especially only 9-point underdog on the road against the Broncos. That's crazy. Raiders, 30th in the league in offensive DVOA. Ahead only the Titans and the Browns. Geno Smith just ain't got it. And this is almost an impossible matchup for him. Broncos, 4th in opponent EPA per play. 1st in opponent success rate. I don't know how the Raiders are going to go on the road at Mile High against Denver on a short week and be competitive against this Broncos team. I'm not high on the Broncos offense. I think the Broncos are not nearly as good as the record. I think they continue to win games by the skin of their teeth, but they are significantly better at home. Third in the NFL in net yards per play at home at plus 1.6. You expect that from a Broncos team playing in Denver. The Raiders, I don't think they have any fight in this game. To cover the spread, they're going to have to score 14 points or more, in my opinion. Can they score 14 points against the Broncos on the road in Denver? I don't think so. I'll take the Broncos -9, -110. Another thing I didn't mention in the intro. One of the worst things about this Jays World Series run, I dressed up as Davis Schneider for Halloween for Game 6, so I shaved my beard into a mustache, and then, of course, because they lost, I'm not going to keep the Davis Schneider mustache when they lost, and now I'm clean shaven. I look like a baby face again. I have had a beard for most of the past year. Cowboys just blocked a punt, and that's a touchdown for the Cowboys. This game has been chaos already. So I'm back to babyface Iain, which you can tell if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe to the Bacon Bets podcast on YouTube. All right, moving on to Sunday. The Falcons. I give up on the Falcons. They saw this is bad, man. I'm in a dark place. In Germany, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, Sunday morning, the Falcons will take on the Colts. This was supposed to be an easy game for the Falcons, looking ahead at the start of the season, looking at their schedule. But now the Colts are like a top 5 team in the NFL. So I just don't. I think the Falcons are going to continue to lose games. I think their coaching staff is losing the locker room. Zach Robinson has been atrocious as an offensive coordinator. They have way too much talent on both sides of the ball to be losing games. It's bad. And I think this is a great time to buy back in on the Colts. I think the Colts lost to the Steelers, and now all of a sudden people are thinking that they're frauds and that it's time to get off and that Daniel Jones is going to revert to a pumpkin. I don't think that's necessarily true. The Colts significantly outplayed the Steelers in that game, but they turned the ball over 6 times. And I don't think Daniel Jones is going to revert to old Daniel Jones. And as long as they run the football, and they should be able to run the football, the Falcons have struggled stopping the run this year, 29th in opponent rush success rate. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a big game. The Colts still rank 3rd in net yards per play, 3rd in DVOA, 1st in EPA, 2nd in success rate. Stop doubting the Colts. The Colts are a very, very, very good team. They're an elite team. They are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. You want to know my Super Bowl pick right now? Matchup pick? Colts play the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. That's not going to happen. We're going to get Chiefs-Eagles again because nothing fun ever happens. It's always just the same teams every single year. But I think maybe the 2 best teams in the NFL right now are the Seahawks and the Colts. From a metric standpoint, that's not just an eye test. That's not just based on record. That's like an actual, statistically, I think DVOA has those 2 teams as 1st and 3rd. Who's 2nd right now in DVOA? Is it the Rams? Is it the Lions? DVOA, it is the Seahawks 1st, Rams 2nd, Colts 3rd, Lions 4th, Chiefs 5th. Yep. And also maybe I want to bet the Colts here because I just have bad memories of last time the Falcons played internationally, which was against the Jaguars 2 years ago. Desmond Ridder was the quarterback. It was a Toy Story game, and watching the Toy Story version of Desmond Ridder throwing a pick 6 broke me. Joke's on them. You can't break me anymore. I'm already broken. By the way, the Leafs suck too. I don't know if I said that earlier. Leafs are going to miss the playoffs. Colts -5.5 at even money. Bills, Dolphins. I will take the Bills -9.5, -108. I think it's time to jump ship off some teams who are imploding. I think the Dolphins fooled me for sure. And they fooled a lot of people, I think, when they had that big win against the Falcons 2 weeks ago. But I think after Thursday Night Football, I think they're done. I think they're toast. That second half of that game was atrocious. That, to me, shows a lack of good coaching. Usually teams who are poorly coached get significantly outplayed in the second half because the other team makes halftime adjustments and then just steamrolls them. And I think that's exactly what you saw with the Ravens and the Dolphins last Thursday. Dolphins now 29th in net yards per play. All their metrics are completely atrocious. Meanwhile, the Bills, their defense has looked a lot better recently. You know, that's the reason why I bet on the Chiefs this past week, because I thought they were going to be able to move the ball in the Bills' defense. But now the Bills have looked very good 2 weeks in a row defensively ever since their bye week, which could be the same with the Ravens, who we'll talk about later. But they completely shut down the Panthers, which is not the most impressive thing in the world, but they completely shut down the Panthers and then slowed down a Chiefs offense, which up to this point had looked very, very good, especially the past few weeks, especially when healthy. So Shout out to the Bills. Maybe it's, there's still some room for the Bills to win the Super Bowl this year. Hopefully they get a little bit more healthy on defense, but I'm sticking generally with the same strategy. I know last week is a terrible time for me to use my strategy of just lay the points with the big favorites. But I do still think the gap has never been wider in the NFL between the top 7 teams and the bottom 7 teams. And I think the Bills are a top 7 team. I think the Dolphins are a bottom 7 team. So I will lay the 9.5 points, minus 108 with the Buffalo Bills against the Dolphins on Sunday. My upset pick of the week is I'm going to take the New York Giants plus 164 against the Bears. One of my only few wins this past week was the Bears when they beat the Bengals, and that was lucky. So I was probably lucky to finish with 3 wins on Sunday. Man. Dude, sometimes I fucking hate sports. Here's the thing. If I didn't work in sports, I probably wouldn't watch sports for the next month. But I had to, 2 days after, wake up, film a show, start talking about sports, start writing about sports, start betting again. It's tough to do that. It's tough to do this. It's a tough week for your boy. I still see my background of the program from the World Series and the ALCS. Man, just nightmarish stuff. I'm going to take the Giants as my upset pick this week. I don't think the Bears are good. Average scoring margin of minus 1.5. That shows that their winning record's a little bit fraudulent. I mean, they're scraping by against some really, really bad teams. And the Giants are kind of feisty, man. I kind of like Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart has nothing right now offensively. Scadaboo's out. Malik Neighbors is out. And he's still fighting. And his advanced metrics, not bad. He's around middle of the pack this year with no real help in terms of EPA and CPOE, completion percentage over expected. 16th in that stat, actually. Caleb Williams, 23rd. The Bears' defense has not been good. If you look at actually DVOA, these two teams are right next to each other, 22nd and 23rd. So give me a shot on the Giants, plus 164 underdogs on the road in Chicago. Just another example of 2 bad teams playing against each other. Give me the team that's listed at plus 164 and see what happens. All right, the Saints against the Panthers. I am selling high on the Carolina Panthers. I know they've won some games this season. They have a winning record. I think they have the same record as the Chiefs, which is crazy. 5-4, I think, is their record. They're also just coming off one of the biggest upset wins of the season, if not the biggest upset win, taking down the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau. But the metrics don't hold up. And you guys know I got a bet based on metrics, not based on record, not based on wins, especially not based on recent results. This season, they're still 24th in the NFL in net yards per play, 25th in DVOA, 23rd in EPA, 20th in opponent EPA. This is a bottom 10 team in the NFL. It just really is. Now, they are a bottom 10 team. The Saints are probably a bottom 5 team, but we still have 5.5 points on the Saints. We're getting 5.5 points with New Orleans. I think Tyler Shuck is still a little bit of an unknown factor. He actually didn't look bad against the Rams, and the Rams have a top 5 defense. So he gets a little bit of an easier matchup. He has a game under his belt. I'm not saying he's going to come out and throw for 350 yards against the Panthers, but I think he can do enough to keep this game close. And also, net yards per play. You guys know my favorite stat. These two teams are right next to each other. Obviously, I say this all the time. There's way more to football than just net yards per play. There's strength of schedule, there's third down conversion rate, there's red zone efficiency, all those things. But in terms of moving the ball down the field and keeping your opponent from doing so, these teams are just as good at it. Right next to each other, minus 0.6 each in net yards per play. 24th and 25th. So I'll take the 5.5 points in this divisional game in the NFC South between the Saints and the Panthers. Very difficult week for Survivor. We're going to talk about Survivor a little bit more, but a lot of games that are good teams against good teams and bad teams against bad teams. I mean, we already talked about Panthers, Saints, Browns, Jets, another bad versus bad. Maybe the 2 worst teams in the NFL playing against each other. I'm going to keep this bet simple. There is one good unit in this entire game. It is the Browns defense. 6th in DVOA, 5th in opponent EPA, 3rd in opponent success rate. Every other unit sucks. The Browns offense is the worst offense in the NFL by a lot of metrics. The Jets, bottom 5, both offensively and defensively. So the team that has the only redeemable unit, actually the Jets special teams for some reason aren't that bad, But for the most part, the only unit that's good in this matchup is the Browns defense, and the Browns are getting 2 points. So I'll take the points. I'm not going to take money line. I'll just take 2 points because this will be a toilet bowl that comes down to the last second field goal. So I will take the 2 points with the Cleveland Browns. Jaguars and Texans, another evenly matched game, which is going to make Survivor very difficult unless you have like the Bills or the Broncos left. Texans, I'll take them -1.5, -105. This is the part of the season where I got to stay true to some of my convictions, and I don't think the Jaguars are a good team. Now, I tried to attack the Jaguars this past week by taking the Raiders on the money line. If I would have just taken the Raiders with a field goal, that would have been a winner. But I got risky and took the money line. So, right side, wrong bet. Obviously, I'm not going to take the money line here with the Texans because the Texans are favorite, but I will lay the 1.5 points here. I'll say the same thing I said last week about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is not a good quarterback. I'm done with the Trevor Lawrence experiment. Maybe he goes somewhere else and, gets fixed. I'm certainly not going to discount that. We've seen that now a lot with a lot of quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith to an extent when he was in Seattle. So maybe Trevor Lawrence just needs a new change of scenery. But while he's in Jacksonville, I'm done. 32nd in the NFL among starting quarterbacks in EPA plus CPOE. That is expected points added plus completion percentage over expected. Only Cam Ward and Dylan Gabriel rank worse than that stat. The Texans also outrank the Jaguars in virtually every single metric. I don't know why the Texans are only 1.5 point favorites at home. That tells me that this would be a coin flip on a neutral site, and I just don't agree with that. Houston is 9th in overall DVOA. Jaguars are 17th. Texans defense is also one of the best in the league. 2nd in opponent EPA per play and 2nd in opponent success rate. They're a top 3 defense. The Jaguars defense started off good to the season, but they have regressed significantly as the season has gone on. I just think the Jaguars are a better team. This might be my very best bet of the week. I would set the Texans. I think the Texans are the better team. This is probably my best bet of the week. I would set the Texans as a field goal favorite, which is pretty far off the current set line of -1.5. But I honestly think the Texans should be -3, maybe -3.5, which maybe I'm a little off. But regardless, I do think the Texans are the side to back. I wonder if the odds have moved in this game since I bet this earlier today. Because I think I'm right. No, still same thing at FanDuel, -1.5. All right, maybe I'm not right, but I'll take the Texans. Patriots and Buccaneers, I will bet the over in this game. Two teams that I want to fade because I don't believe in their defenses, but two teams who are playing against each other. So I can't fade them both. I can fade both defenses. I can fade the Patriots defense. I will go over 48.5. Patriots defense continues to be bad. 25th in defensive DVOA. The Falcons exposed them last week, but just couldn't get the job done. Atlanta did cover the spread. Meanwhile, their offense is very good. 7th in EPA per play. Drake May ranks 2nd amongst all starting quarterbacks in EPA plus CPOE. The Buccaneers offense hasn't been as good as they were at the start of the year, but hopefully getting a little bit healthy. I got to see some updated injury reports on Wednesday, but they're coming off a bye week, so they'll at least be rested. But even if they're not fully healthy, I think Baker Mayfield can move the ball against this Patriots secondary. So I will take the over 48.5 between the Patriots and the Buccaneers. The Ravens. I think it's time to get in on the Ravens. Based on the 3.5 point spread, and actually I think it's moved to 4.5. Let me double check here. I bet it at DraftKings -3.5 at DraftKings. Let me just bring up DraftKings here really quick as the Cardinals are driving down the field again. Still -3.5 at DraftKings. At FanDuel, it's up to -4.5. The betting market is still a little cautious about the Ravens. They think maybe they'll regress to how they were at the start of the season, but I'm all in. We were very high on the Ravens this year. The start of the season was disastrous for them. But they had their bye week. They got a little bit more healthy, and now they've won their last 2 games by a combined score of 58-22. Now, those games came against the Bears and Dolphins, so that is worth noting. But I do think that the Ravens are back to being the Ravens that they were supposed to be preseason. Also, I know the Vikings just pulled off the upset against the Lions. Vikings fans are back to calling J.J. McCarthy the next Joe Montana. Just so you guys know, J.J. McCarthy completed 56% of passes for 143 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Or maybe 2 touchdowns? Still, not exactly the stat line that makes me think J.J. McCarthy is going to lead the Vikings to a ton of wins the rest of the year, especially against a Ravens defense that has looked significantly better the past 2 weeks. So I will lay the points with the Ravens, -3.5, -105. Seahawks, who played last night against the Commanders. I'm going to keep betting the Seahawks. I'll take a -7, -105 against the Cardinals. The Cardinals are playing tonight right now. I hope Kyler Murray comes back because the Cardinals are a lot better with Jacoby Brissett. They just are. But I think the betting market is still finally catching on to how good the Seahawks team is. But I do still think there's some value betting on them at their current price point. Seahawks number 1 team in the NFL, according to DVOA. That's 4th in offensive DVOA, 2nd in defensive DVOA, 1st in special teams. So not only are they very good offensively and defensively, but their special teams have been the best in the NFL as well. Also lead the league in net yards per play, plus 1.6. I think between the Seahawks and Colts, because in seasons past we've seen teams get off to really hot starts that no one expected them to regress as the season goes on, the betting market is treating the Colts and Seahawks as if regression is going to come, and I don't think it's going to. Because unlike past years, unlike the Vikings from last season, or the Steelers from years past, or the Eagles from 2 years ago who got off to a hot start and then regressed, they have the metrics to back it up, and that is what is important. Not only do they have good record, good point differential, they have the advanced metrics to back it up. I will continue to believe in Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. I have a bet on Sam Darnold MVP. I have a bet on the Seahawks Super Bowl. I think those are both looking really good right now. Not in terms of neither of them are favored, but much shorter odds than what they were when I bet on them a month ago or whenever it was. Jacoby Brissett scores a touchdown. Cardinals take a 17-7 lead. Oh boy. Maybe I should just, the over, I don't even think, is the over on pace? No, it's not. I'm going to have a 3-11 week this week. Holy fuck, man. Yikes. Okay, Lions and Commanders. This is, still late afternoon Sunday game. I will take, is this my first total bet of the week? I will take Lions and Commanders under 50.5 at -110. I still think a lot of people, when they think of the Lions, they think that they are an offensive team. They really aren't this year. I mean, their offense is very good, but their defense is as good as it's ever been. Like, a total of 50.5 to me is a game between 2 good offenses and 2 bad defenses. Not the case here. Lions defense ranks 7th in opponent success rate, 6th in opponent EPA per play, 4th in defensive DVOA. And also the Commanders, Jaden Daniels looks like he's out. So it's probably going to be Marcus Mariota. So, I don't trust Marcus Mariota and the Commanders offense to put up enough points against the Lions defense to contribute enough for this total to go over. Unless the Lions put up 35 points. And they could. And even then, that might not be enough for this over to hit. So, actually, I think it's come down a point. DraftKings at 50.5. It's come down a point, down to 49.5. I still like it. Anything under 49, I would still take that. Maybe even under 48.5, I'd probably take the under, and that would probably be as low as I would go. But good to know I'm on the sharp side for this one. Rams against the 49ers. I will take the Rams. -3.5, -105. I am low on the 49ers. Last year, everything that could have gone wrong for the 49ers went wrong for the 49ers. This year, everything that could go right for the 49ers has gone right for the 49ers outside of injuries. But they are overcoming those injuries and winning games they don't necessarily deserve to win. 15th in the NFL in net yards per play, 15th in DVOA, 15th in EPA per play, 22nd in opponent EPA per play. Mac Jones, looking like he's going to continue to be the starter. He's just 15th in EPA plus CPOE. Meanwhile, the Rams, who I was wrong about, hand up, accountability. I was wrong about the Rams heading into the season. The Rams are now arguably the best team by many metrics. 2nd in total DVOA, 3rd in offensive DVOA, 5th in defensive DVOA. And they're also the only team in the NFL that ranks inside the top 6 in both EPA per play and opponent EPA per play. I don't know how Matt Stafford continues to do it at his age with what seemed like was a broken back in the preseason, but he's doing it. I like the conspiracy theory that Matt Stafford is this version of him is a clone. I think that's fun. So give me the Rams minus 3.5, minus 105. I just think they have been significantly the better team between them and the 49ers this season. I actually wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers end up falling out of a playoff spot, which might be the Falcons' only hope. But the Falcons need to go. The Falcons need to win the next 10 straight games or 8 straight games, whatever they have left. All right. Sunday Night Football, Steelers, Chargers. Sorry, Chargers fans. I got to take the Steelers in this one. Joe Alt out. I just don't know how the Chargers are going to keep Justin Herbert on his feet. I don't know how Justin Herbert's going to have any time to throw. So the Chargers already allow the highest pressure rate per dropback. Justin Herbert gets pressured on 26.5% of his dropbacks. Now, obviously, Rashawn Slater's already out. Joe Alt has now joined him on the IR. So now they have both their offensive tackles out, and now they have to take on one of the best pass rushes in the NFL in the Steelers. Steelers have a pressure rate of 22.7%. They also have the third most sacks in the league this season with 27. So if a pass rush just dominates the Chargers' offensive line, I just don't see how the Chargers can not only win this game, but win with margin. Maybe the Chargers just run the ball behind the center and guard the entire game, and maybe that's enough. Maybe the Steelers turn the ball over a ton. But based on this pass rush against the Chargers offensive line, I just can't see it. And also the Chargers defense has regressed. They were like a top 5 defense the first few weeks of the season. They have now fallen down to 17th in defensive DVOA. Not a lot of good things going for the Chargers right now, unfortunately. That Joe Alt injury is just heartbreaking. I will take the 3 points. I will take the field goal that the Steelers are getting on Sunday Night Football. Finally, Monday Night Football, the game of the week. This is going to be a fun one. Could be a preview of a potential playoff game. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word playoff. Eagles, Packers. I will go over 44.5 at minus 108. Both offenses in this game have been better than their defenses this year, yet despite that, the total in this game is just set at 44.5. So that's a no-brainer to me. I'll take the over. The Packers' offense ranks 3rd in EPA per play, 3rd in success rate, 6th in offensive DVOA. Their defense ranks 15th, 13th, and 8th in those 3 stats. The Eagles, similar boat, 8th, 15th, 7th in those offensive stats, 16th, 15th, 18th in the defense version of those stats. So pretty straightforward. Both offenses better than their defenses. To me, that warrants a total that's in the high 40s. Instead, we have one in the mid 40s at 44.5. Also, I don't want to bet on the side in this game because the Eagles have looked really good the past few weeks and the Packers have not, for the most part, except for that second half against the Steelers. So, are the Eagles trending in the right direction? Do the Packers bounce back after a bad game against the Panthers? I think there's too many question marks in terms of betting on a side. Instead, what I trust is I trust the 2 offenses in this game. Brandon Aubrey is about to try to tie the record for longest field goal in NFL history after it was just set yesterday. That's wide left. Missed it. So I'll take the Eagles-Packers over 44.5 at minus 108. All right, those are my picks for NFL. Week 10. Let's recap them. I'll give you my 5 best bets, and then we'll get into Survivor and Teaser and all those good things. All right, Broncos minus 9 against the Raiders. Colts minus 5.5, even money against the Falcons. Bills minus 9.5, minus 108 against the Dolphins. Giants on the money line, plus 164 against the Bears. Saints plus 5.5 against the Panthers. Browns plus 2 against the Jets. Texans minus 1.5, minus 105 against the Jaguars. Patriots, Buccaneers over 48.5, minus 106. Ravens minus 3.5, minus 105. Seahawks minus 7, minus 105 against the Cardinals. Lions, Commanders under 50.5. Rams minus 3.5, minus 105 against the 49ers. Steelers plus 3 against the Chargers. Eagles, Packers over 44.5, minus 108. My best bets did better than my overall picks. And not only did better than my overall picks, my best bets from last week, I had more wins in my best bets than I had for the entire week for my normal picks. The reason being because when I give all my best bets, I give them as if it's a pick'em pool, so the money lines are spread bets for your pick'em pools. So the Falcons, which was a loss for the road to 272, was a win for the pick'em pool. And the Raiders, which was a loss for the road to 272, was a win for the pick'em pool. So I went Falcons, Raiders, Seahawks, Rams, all won this past week, all won and covered. Lions did not win or cover. So 4-1 with my best bets, and then I'm going to be 3-11 with my overall bets. Oh, puta madre. My best bets this week. I like the Colts to win and cover against the Falcons in Germany. I like the Saints getting the points against the Panthers. I like the Texans -1.5 against the Jags. The Ravens -3.5 against the Vikings. The Rams -3.5 against the 49ers. So Colts, Saints, Texans, Ravens, Rams, all to cover. My best bets for week 10. Let's talk Survivor Pool. The road to 272 Survivor Pool, we are down to, as of right now, down to 29 people, but there is one person who is on the Cowboys, so they're down 10 points at halftime, so we could be down to 28 people. I'm telling you guys, you cannot let me win my own pool. I'll take the money. I'll fucking take the money and dance off into the sunset. But you simply can't allow that. 5 people were eliminated on Sunday because you took the Packers. I was on the Rams. It was the most popular pick. 19 people were on the Rams. That was over 55%. It was sweat-free, though. Listen, I get wanting to save the Rams for like the Panthers in a couple weeks, but maybe you shouldn't take the Rams against the Panthers because the Panthers just beat the Packers. So it's basically split up between 4 teams. People took the Rams, then the Chargers, and then 5 people took the Packers. That lost. 1 person, for some reason, took the Cowboys, and they're about to lose. But 10 points, they can still come back. So either 29 or 28 people left. My pick for this week, and once again, at some point this season, I have to stop giving you guys my picks if I keep winning. This is a very tough week in Survivor. If you have the Broncos, you got to use the Broncos at home to the Raiders on Thursday night. If you have the Bills, you have to use the Bills on Sunday against the Dolphins. Other than that, there's no big favorite, is there? Broncos are 9.5 now. Bills are 9.5. You could use the Lions against the Commanders, who are now up to 8.5. So I have the lines available. So I have 2 teams I'm deciding between for this pool. I can either use the Seahawks against the Cardinals, who the Seahawks are. But after the Cardinals are winning tonight, maybe I don't want to. But the Seahawks are at home and the line's off the board. The Seahawks were 7-point favorites because I bet on them. Or the Lions 8.5-point favorites against the Commanders. On the road, though. But no Jaden Daniels. Right now, I have the Seahawks as my team. That might change. I'll be deciding all week if I want to go Seahawks or Lions. But right now, I have Seahawks. But I think if you don't have the Broncos or the Bills, you have to use either the Seahawks or the Lions. Like, there are options, but just not many. Maybe you want to get risky and take the Panthers against the Saints, but that's risky in my opinion. Maybe you want to take the Colts against the Falcons, but that's risky. It's in Germany. Weird things could happen. I originally had the Chargers against the Steelers on Sunday night, was going to be my pick, but now no Joe Alt. I'm not doing that. So if you are one of the 9 people left in the pool, best of luck. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty a little bit. And this is a tough one. Some people will be eliminated this week, I guarantee it. We'll be down to maybe less than 20 next week. I have an entry in Joe Ostrowski's pool, which is for big money. Still alive. I don't have the Seahawks or the Lions in that one. I'm going with the Ravens against the Vikings. That one I have no big favorites. available. I don't have the Seahawks. I don't have the Lions. I don't have the Bills. I don't have the Broncos. I've used all those teams already. So I'm going to take a risky one and go Ravens. Ravens against Vikings. I don't trust the Panthers, which were the other option. So that's Survivor. So for Road to 272 pool, right now I have Seahawks locked in, but I may end up going Lions. I might switch that to Lions. That's yet to be fully locked in. Teaser of the week. Last week, my teaser lost because of the Lions. Speaking of the Lions, teasing them down to -2.5 doesn't matter when they lose outright to the Vikings. My teaser this week, we're going to tease 2 underdogs up. We're going to tease the Browns up to +7.5 against the Jets. Feel pretty good. I think the Browns defense can keep that game within reach, can keep it within a touchdown at least. And also with the total being extremely low, the total in that game is 36.5, lowest total of the year. You got to feel pretty good about getting 7.5 for the Browns. So I'll tease the Browns up from +1.5 to up 7.5. That crosses key numbers of 3, 6, and 7. And I will also tease the Patriots from +2.5 against the Buccaneers up to +8.5. Buccaneers might win. I think winning by more than 8.5, especially with the injury report they currently have, is going to be tough. So Browns +7.5, Patriots +8.5. That's my 2-leg 6-point teaser for this week. This has been the NFL Week 10 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. Please subscribe, rate, review, all those things. Send me a nice message on Twitter to make me feel better. That would be nice. Got a lot of mean messages and a lot of mean replies lately. Some nice ones would be nice. I don't know why I got ripped apart for just being sad my team lost. Like, really mean things. Really mean. But hey, the bright side is the bar has been set for a new low for the worst weekend as a sports fan. Between my bets, my Blue Jays losing 2 World Series games, and the Falcons losing on a missed extra point. I don't know how it could get worse than that from a sports fan perspective. Nothing. The Leafs beat the Flyers or someone, I think. That was it. Who gives a shit? The Leafs are bad. They're going to miss the playoffs. So, whatever. I've complained enough. I'll try to be in a better mood this time next week. I'm sorry this was it was a whiny episode. But, I mean, what can you do, man? It's hard to be positive 2 days after watching your team lose by inches in Game 7 of the World Series. Truly. So, thank you for watching and listening. This has been the NFL Week 10 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. The road to 272 bets marches on.